Hello and welcome. I'm truly grateful you've chosen to watch today's video. It means more than you know. And if you decide to hit that subscribe button, it would absolutely make my day. Now let's get into it. "You're suffocating me," she whispered, before stepping out the door, determined to reclaim the version of herself she'd lost. But when her husband later caught sight of her in another man's car, something deep within him splintered. She believed she was rising into her own power. What she didn't see coming was his vengeance, quiet, calculated, and devastating. It would leave her with nothing but regrets and silence. The morning dishes clinked as Adam Blake washed the last coffee cup from breakfast. Sunlight streamed sharply through the blinds, slashing gold lines across the granite countertops in their polished suburban San Diego kitchen. From the outside, Adam and Erin seemed to have it all. Married 8 years, comfortably settled in a stylish, well-kept home. Their life looked solid. But beneath the surface, the foundation was crumbling. Erin stood across the kitchen island, arms folded tightly, brows furrowed as if wrestling with herself. At 36, her chestnut hair was tied up without care, and her eyes flickered away from his gaze. She looked like someone on the edge of something irreversible. "I've been doing some thinking," she began, her voice shaky. "Watching videos, reading articles. Jessica sent me a bunch of stuff. She says most women never really find out who they are. That marriage, monogamy, it's all just another way to keep us in line." Adam stopped drying his hands, turning slowly to face her. The words felt foreign, not hers, but spoken in Jessica's voice. Her impulsive best friend who coasted on divorce settlements and reckless choices. "Are you saying you want to be with other people?" he asked, measuring each word. "I don't know. I need space. I've been living for us for so long I've forgotten how to live for me." His hand clenched the towel unconsciously. Adam, 38, was rational to a fault, an analyst by trade and temperament. But this wasn't something logic could fix. He looked at her, but she didn't feel familiar anymore. That evening, she walked right past him to meet Jessica, not even pausing. He sat alone in the living room, the flickering TV casting shadows on their wedding photo above the fireplace. 8 years, vanishing in a blink. The days that followed blurred. Erin moved in with Jessica. She called now and then, always offering the same tired script. "I miss you. I still love you. But I need this time." Adam tried to stay calm. Gave her the room she said she needed, held on to hope, until everything changed. One Friday night, some co-workers dragged him out to a bar downtown. Stepping outside for some air, he saw her, across the street, laughing. Her arm wrapped around a man in a black leather jacket. That same arm used to hold him. The man leaned in, kissed her neck like he owned it. They climbed into a car. The windows fogged. The vehicle rocked gently. Adam didn't think. He just moved, step by step across the street, until he stood just feet from the car. His heart pounded like a drum. Then her face turned. Their eyes met. She froze. Without a word, Adam turned and walked away. He ignored every call she made the next day, and the day after that. Her betrayal now had a face, a place, and a date. That weekend, he contacted Vincent Grady, his old college roommate, now a formidable divorce lawyer. Vince didn't ask for details. He listened. "She left. She cheated. And here I am, still standing here like a damn idiot," Adam muttered. Vince's voice was calm. "So, what are you going to do?" Adam looked again at the wedding photo, a monument to a life now trashed. "I want her to regret everything." A hint of a smile crept into Vince's tone. "Then let's begin." Adam didn't lash out online, didn't beg her to return, didn't rage or weep. He did something far more unnerving. He vanished into silence and began to scheme. They met in a dim booth of a tired roadside diner. The air smelled like burnt coffee and old dreams. Vince slid a document across the table. She left. She's sleeping around. That works in our favor, Vince explained. We reroute the money, manipulate the debts, and divide the assets just right. By the time she figures it out, she'll wish she never walked away. Adam nodded once. Let's get to work. Phase 1. Disappear the money. The $135,000 they'd built up in joint savings became the first target. In chunks, $18K, then $22K, another $19K, Adam moved it, each withdrawal disguised as a consulting payment to a fake firm Vince had set up, Summit Data Services. The trail was clean, nothing to raise flags with the IRS. From there, the funds filtered through a holding company in Nevada, then quietly disappeared into a trust in the Caymans. Erin wouldn't find it unless she hired forensic accountants, and since she had left the marriage for someone else, she'd have little standing to claim any of it. Phase 2. Manufacture debt. Their home, worth nearly $500,000, still carried a $210,000 mortgage. Adam applied for a second loan under the guise of energy-efficient upgrades, solar panels, HVAC work. A forged contractor estimate sealed the approval. Within days, $200,000 landed in their joint account. By Monday, it was gone. Now, Erin was still legally on the mortgage, only now it totaled $410,000. Then came the credit storm. He maxed out their joint cards. High-end electronics, luxury whiskey, a $14,000 Rolex, thousands in gift cards. Everything resold discreetly through Vince's underground network, every purchase in both their names. But Erin didn't notice. She was too caught up taking selfies with hashtags like Healing Queen Energy, partying with Jessica, and parading a new lineup of men she called her soul guides. Adam, meanwhile, was transforming. He rejoined the gym, shed weight. Cleaned up his look, new cologne, no more overtime. Sundays were now for self-development, legal podcasts, psychology books, strategy. He studied others, studied himself. 2 months passed, 20 pounds lost, his mind sharper. His silence, once an olive branch, now a blade. Erin, by contrast, started to crumble. What once felt like liberation now tasted hollow. The nights with guys like Darren, Eli, and Chase blurred together, indistinct and forgettable. One morning she woke up in an unfamiliar condo with no idea how she'd gotten there. She told herself this was growth, but deep down, a quiet voice whispered otherwise. She missed Adam. She began calling again. Her voicemails were shaky. "I think I made a mistake," she said in one. "You grounded me. I didn't see it until it was too late." Adam never replied. Jessica scoffed. "He's playing you. Don't fall for it. You're evolving." But Erin wasn't sure anymore. And Adam was just getting warmed up. The moment Erin spotted the towering stack of overdue credit card bills on the kitchen counter, something deep inside her cracked. She opened the banking apps, and her stomach dropped. The accounts were empty. Their savings had vanished. Every credit line was maxed out. Panic overtook her fingers as she texted Adam, breath catching, hands shaking. "Where's the money, Adam? Why are we buried in debt? Look at the mortgage. Take what's yours." This wasn't the Adam who used to avoid tough conversations. His responses came fast and cold, deliberate in their detachment. Just 3 days later, a divorce packet landed on Jessica's porch. It was addressed to Erin Rhodes Blake. The documents were clinical in tone but laced with bitterness, allegations of abandonment, emotional betrayal, and significant financial misconduct. Adam demanded a swift dissolution of the marriage and an equitable split of assets and liabilities. Erin sank into the sofa, whispering into the empty room. "No, this isn't what I wanted." But that didn't matter anymore. Adam wasn't heartbroken. He wasn't hesitating. He was executing. She had never imagined their story ending in a courtroom, especially not like this, represented by a discount lawyer she found online. her financial world unraveling at the seams. It was a dull, gray March morning. The blazer she wore was too tight in the shoulders, borrowed from Jessica. Her heels clicked nervously against the linoleum floor as she made her way forward. Greg, her frazzled, underfunded attorney, leaned in. "Stay close. Let me guide you," he whispered. Across the room, Adam sat still and polished, his navy suit pristine. Beside him, Vince Grady, his legal bulldog, wore a smug grin, certain of victory before the proceedings began. The judge, barely looking up, stated plainly, "Community property state. Unless there's credible evidence of fraud or desertion, all assets and debts will be shared equally." Vince stood with a practiced ease. "Your Honor, Mr. Blake was abandoned, emotionally and physically. His spouse engaged in extramarital relationships and depleted joint finances without consent. We have supporting evidence, transaction logs, witnesses, photographs." Greg flinched. "Objection. These claims are inflammatory and irrelevant to the division of property." The judge looked over. "Are you disputing the evidence, counselor?" Greg hesitated. "Not entirely, Your Honor, but—" "Then sit down," Vince continued, laying out his argument with surgical precision. Charts, bank transfers, business filings, even pictures of Erin with different men over a matter of weeks. Adam never once looked her way. The judge recited numbers with mechanical calm. Property assessed at $490,000. Outstanding primary mortgage, $210,000. Second mortgage, $200,000. Net equity, $80,000. Total shared debt, $193,000. Primarily credit cards and unsecured lines. Greg attempted a final defense. "We believe the second mortgage proceeds were hidden. The LLC is likely a shell." "Do you have documentation?" "No, but then the division remains unchanged. Each party would walk away with $40,000 in equity, and each would carry $96,500 in debt." Erin felt her lungs seize. $96,000. She didn't even have $600. She finally looked at Adam, her voice brittle. "You orchestrated this. You buried the money." His face hardened. "I protected myself. You tore us apart." She shook her head slowly. "I didn't mean to destroy anything. I just needed space," he replied evenly. "And now you have it, along with everything that comes with it." The gavel fell like a thunderclap. "Divorce granted. Case closed." Erin stumbled out of the courtroom, knees unsteady. Jessica was waiting with oversized sunglasses and a latte. "That was brutal," she said, offering the cup. Erin took it, her voice fraying. "He gutted me. Emptied our account. Lied." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Classic. Smile and slaughter tactics. Male privilege at work. We'll get you to a yoga retreat or something." But Erin didn't respond. Something inside her had shut down. The mantras she once clung to, freedom, feminine rising, liberated woman, now sounded hollow, like someone else's script, Jessica's. That evening, she drove to her parents' home in Santa Clarita. Her aging Prius wheezed up the gravel driveway. All she carried was a duffel bag and an unbearable weight of regret. Her mother opened the door, expression tight. Her father stood behind her, arms crossed. "I have nowhere else to go," Erin said quietly. "Adam left me with nothing. I made mistakes." They let her in, but the air inside was heavy with unspoken judgment. Her childhood bedroom remained intact. Prom pictures on the bulletin board. A faded college acceptance letter tacked to the wall. She collapsed onto the twin bed and cried like a teenager. The next morning, as smoke curled from burnt toast and the coffee sat untouched, her father finally broke the silence. "You had a good man, and you let bad ideas twist your thinking." Erin stared into her mug. "I know." Her mother didn't soften. "You wanted to rediscover yourself? Fine, start here. No men, no money, no slogans, just reality." Erin nodded. Wordless, empty. Somewhere, Adam was rebuilding, and she was left picking through ashes. Days bled into each other. Mornings spent applying to job listings on outdated websites, awkward silences over dinner, nights haunted by guilt. Adam's voice echoed over and over. "You wanted space. Now you've got the fallout." Her bed, still wrapped in pink floral sheets, felt like a cruel reminder. Her parents barely spoke, didn't need to. Their disapproval filled every room. Jessica kept texting. Spiritual voice memos, pricey self-help courses, links to miracle retreats. Erin eventually stopped replying. When she finally researched debt relief options, she realized things were worse than expected. The second mortgage hadn't been paid. Collections had started on multiple cards. Every account bore her name. She tried selling old designer bags, the healing crystals Jessica swore she'd need. No one wanted them. Eventually, she found a job at a boutique. Part-time. Low pay. She folded denim, rearranged displays, and forced polite smiles for commissions. One afternoon, she caught her reflection in a mirror. Her face was drawn, weary, older. Her freedom had a price. Adam, meanwhile, had moved forward. 6 months after the divorce, he met Lena at a fundraising gala. She wasn't flashy. She taught 3rd grade. She smelled like cinnamon and fresh paper. She listened, not to argue, not to fix, just to hear. Their connection was gentle, steady, quiet, no hashtags, no grand gestures. One evening over dinner, Adam finally spoke. "I'm not proud of everything I did," he admitted, and he meant it. Adam ran his hand through his hair, shame flickering behind his eyes like a fading ember. "I drained everything we had. Left her with debts I knew she'd drown in. I closed every door behind me, burned the bridges so completely she'd have nowhere left to come back to. I turned into someone I couldn't even recognize." Lena placed her fork down with care, studying him. "Did it do what you hoped?" He hesitated. "In some ways, yeah. I got a sense of finality, but sometimes I wonder if the price was too steep." "You think it changed you?" "Maybe it made me colder. Or maybe it's what I needed to finally stop being afraid." Lena leaned forward, her voice low but unwavering. "There's a line, Adam, between protecting yourself and destroying someone else. You weren't fighting her to win. You were just trying to survive." A small, wistful smile touched his lips. "You sound like a therapist." She chuckled. "I just read too much." That evening, standing near the front door, he kissed her softly, tentatively, like a man treading carefully on unfamiliar ground. And for the first time in ages, he didn't feel like someone trying to heal. He felt like a man finally ready to begin again. Nearly a year after the papers were signed, Erin was clocking long shifts, crashing on a sagging pull-out couch in a cramped apartment she shared with 2 strangers she'd found on Craigslist. Jessica had vanished from her life, off chasing spiritual enlightenment and rebounding from her 3rd divorce, this time with a DJ named Kai. Erin was alone, and that's when the real introspection started. She began journaling, not filtered posts or hollow mantras, but gritty, unfiltered truths. She poured onto the page every lie she'd swallowed, every ounce of shame she had buried, every moment she blamed Adam for a prison she had locked from the inside. She stopped calling it empowerment. She started naming it for what it really was: escape. One quiet Sunday, nestled in a corner booth of a small cafe, she held a pencil above a fresh page. Her hand trembled slightly as she began writing a letter she knew would never leave her notebook. "Adam, what I did to you, you didn't deserve it. You were the calm I never knew I needed, and I let it go chasing chaos I mistook for growth. I muted my own voice and followed others, calling it freedom. I ruined something real because I believed love had to be dramatic, wild, unpredictable. But now I understand. Real love is still mornings, small rituals, and someone remembering how you take your coffee. I finally see that. I hope you're happy, I hope you found someone better." She folded the letter gently, then tore it clean down the middle. Not because the words weren't sincere, but because she finally understood that closure doesn't come in letters. It comes in learning to live with the wreckage you caused. The past couldn't be undone, but maybe the future didn't have to be a punishment. 2 years passed. Time hadn't been unkind to Erin, it had simply been honest. The woman who once curated herself in mirrors and filters now wore little makeup, let her curls fall as they may, and carried a tattered journal instead of designer accessories. She no longer performed, for likes, for approval, not even for herself. She held down 2 jobs, chipped away at debts she once ignored, and learned how to sit in silence without panicking. No more reckless nights, no more Jessica. Just Erin, on her own, in the stillness she once ran from. Meanwhile, Adam had carefully reconstructed his life. He and Lena bought a cozy craftsman bungalow in North Park, where the breeze carried hints of citrus and fresh paint. Lena was 6 months pregnant. Adam had evolved into the man he was always meant to be, calm, rooted, no longer afraid to speak his truth. He had learned to forgive himself, and eventually, to forgive Erin, too. They hadn't spoken since the court proceedings ended, until chance, uninvited and uncanny, placed them both at the same wedding in Napa. Erin arrived solo. Adam came with Lena. She noticed him first, standing on the terrace in a crisp navy suit, his hand resting protectively on Lena's belly, as if making a quiet promise only they could hear. Her chest ached. She hadn't expected his attention. But when his gaze met hers across the room, he offered a brief nod. No smile, no scorn, just acknowledgement. Later, when the music softened and the band took a break, Erin stepped out with a drink in hand. The night air was brisk. The patio nearly deserted. She wasn't waiting for anyone, but she heard footsteps behind her. "Erin!" She turned. Adam stood there, slightly older, subtly refined. Not hardened, but shaped, like someone who had been slowly, carefully remade. "Hey," she said, her voice softer than she remembered it being around him. They stood quietly. Crickets sang in the background. Music drifted faintly through open doors. "You look good," she said, her gaze flicking to the silver ring on his hand. "I'm doing well," he answered. "How about you?" She nodded. "Better than I've been. Still learning." He absorbed that. "I hope it's real this time." She smiled faintly. "It is. I've stopped chasing shadows." Her eyes lifted to the stars before returning to his. "I read something once about how pain can either sharpen you or soften you. Depends on what kind of mirror it holds up." He didn't speak right away. "And for you?" he finally asked. Her answer came gently like an exhale. "Both. First it hardened me, because I couldn't admit I was wrong. Then it softened me, because I couldn't live with who I'd become." Adam drew a slow breath. "You don't owe me anything." "I know," she said, "but I needed to say it out loud." Their eyes locked. "I'm sorry." His jaw tensed for a moment, then loosened. "I know," he said quietly. "And I'm glad you found your way, even if everything had to fall apart first." She smiled, not to impress, not to cover anything, just honestly. "And you?" she asked. "I didn't find myself," he said. "I rebuilt who I was, from the ground up. After you left, there wasn't much left to build from. That must have been hard." "It was," he admitted, "but it made me whole." Silence returned. Not heavy, just calm. From inside, Lena's voice floated out. "Adam." He turned toward the door. "I should go." Erin nodded slowly. "What you've made, it's beautiful. Hold on to it." A gentle smile touched his lips. "I will." As he turned to leave, she called out once more. Adam, he looked back. I didn't understand what love really meant. Not until I lost yours. His gaze lingered. There was no anger in it, just clarity. And then he turned, walking toward the woman who had never asked him to be anything but himself. Erin stayed there long after the music resumed. Tears slid down her cheeks, not for what she had lost, but for what she finally understood. She didn't cry because she wanted him back. She cried because she now knew exactly why he wouldn't return.